Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Maximonius. Ladies and gentlemen, you must acquit. If you can't find, shut your mouth. We're going to talk a little bit about that acquittal today. We're going to talk about the State of the Union and some of these Q posts. But first, let's go live to the reaction from the Democrats regarding Trump's acquittal. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Let's move on to Q Post 3825. 1 minute after the hour of 1, we get a Twitter status to the legendary Praying Medic, who, if you didn't know, is super awesome. Praying Medic says, "You're the boomerang. Hashtag SoTu or SoChu. Is it SoChu or SoTu? I like to say SoTu. Anyway, check the video out."
Good evening to you. What's your reaction to the speech?
I agree wholeheartedly with the other callers. I am a Democrat as well, but no longer will I vote Democrat. I think it's outrageous that they sat there when all these good things are happening to our country and how much we love our country, and they looked like they hated our country. And Nancy Pelosi, the whole time she's sitting up there with a disgusting look on her face. It's outrageous. I will never vote Democrat again, and I'm sick of it, and my whole family feels the same way. My husband, my friends are sitting here, all former Democrats. We all voted for Hillary last time, and therefore never, ever will we ever vote Democrat again.
So there you go. And Q says, what happens when the mass population witnesses no political spin, fake news, cannot censor, so to address the anti-American actions of the left firsthand. The silent war continues indeed. So as you likely saw for yourself during the SOTU, we saw a lot of displays of, love for our country and what seems to be this kind of disdain for the success of our country. And like I said in my thread, if you followed my thread, I posted it on YouTube, I posted it on Twitter, and of course all of my threads are over there on my Patreon, and you do not have to be a patron to go check them out. So if you just want to see threads, you can go click over there. But we did a thread kind of just sort of live following the State of the Union, and it really was impressive, right? To see, of course, it's one of these kind of big dog and pony shows where everybody stands up, sit down, stand up, sit down. How many times do you stand up and sit down and just clap over the same issues and whatever? But it really shows the political divide. And of course, we saw all our friends in white there. It kind of looked familiar, didn't it? Familiar looking outfits. Anyway, they didn't seem to want to stand up for a lot of things, like all-time low minority unemployment. I guess they're not big fans. Whatever. So there was a lot of outward displays of disdain towards the president. And like I said at the end of my thread, I do think that the correct thing to do was to play it classy and not address the impeachment, not to address the divide, but to simply address, what your plan is and what your plan is going forward. And it really, really kind of left the Democrats out there in the cold to show exactly where they stand. And as you can see by the reaction right there, there's a whole group of Democrats. I think there are probably a lot of people leaving the Democratic Party right now, and for obvious reasons. Anti-American is what the sentiment seems to be. So like I said in my last video, you can kind of censor or you can edit things like Trump rallies, but you can't really do that with the State of the Union. Otherwise, you're going to get called out real quick. You got to put it out on Front Street, and everyone has to see it, whether it's on C-SPAN, whether it's on Fox, whether it's on BBC, Al Jazeera, it doesn't matter. You're going to see the same State of the Union, and President Trump took advantage of that by taking the high road, keeping it classy, while the silent war continues. Post 38:26, 23 minutes after the hour of 1 and 43 seconds. Had it been 45 seconds, it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm being straight with you. This is a sweet pick. It says, "In God We Trust." It's entitled "In God We Trust," and it appears to come from the Twitter status of Dan Scavino, who posts this hashtag behind the scenes, hashtag SoChu2020. Like I said, it's a pretty sweet pick. "In God We Trust" and an American flag, and McDonald's walking in, about to crack some domes. Q says, "Sometimes the past can find the future." And I know all about that because I'm from the future. Just the kind of very near future, but I am from the future. I get a lot of people asking me about my timestamps, asking me, "Hey, Patrick Mack, are you from the future?" I sure am. And I'm about to take you back, to the past. 38:23. 48 minutes after the hour 12, we see this American flag entitled "In God We Trust." And this was posted just the other day on the 2nd of February. So that was the past. Now let's take you back to the future. We see an American flag. It says "In God We Trust." Let's go back to the past again. We see an American flag. It says "In God We Trust." So it looks like the past found the future. But we can get even more jiggy with this because we're going to go even further into the future. Look at that. Mind-bending. 38:27, 27 minutes after the hour 1. Anon is pointing out what I just pointed out. This is a screenshot from 8kun, and it is showing the post from the other day, the one that I just showed you, the American flag. They're just posting this on 8kun, and of course posting the Twitter link to Dan Scavino's status. "Sometimes the past can find the future. In God We Trust." What a coincidence. So another Q proof. Now Q says sometimes the future can find the past. Wait a minute, you just said it the other way around. Wait a minute, so now is the future can find the past. And the past can find the future. And now y'all are understanding this in the present. So let's go forward, which will be the future. Post 38:28, 34 minutes after the hour 1, we get a YouTube link right here to a familiar link. This is to the movie Law Abiding Citizen. Q has posted this before. It's entitled "It's Gonna Be Biblical," and Q has mentioned that too. Now, this is our protagonist right here, and at this point, he's been through a lot. His wife, his daughter were killed, and of course, he sets out to seek justice, vigilante style, because that's the only way you can get things done in the big city. And he realizes along the way that, oddly enough, the system is not rigged in his favor. I know. He was just as stunned as we were. Anyway, hijinks ensue, and at some point he becomes in a position of power himself because he's holding some crucial information. And if he releases it, it's going to bring the whole house down. And that's what he's saying. And of course, I can't play the actual audio because I'll get hit with copyright, which will bring the whole house down for me. And that's a real story. But I can kind of just make up the words because I'm 4 years old. Let's do that. "I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to bring the whole disease temple freaking thing down up on your face. Biblical style, yo." So there you have it. Indeed biblical. And I think we all know that we're dealing with some straight up legit evil from the bowels of Hades, otherwise known as West Hollywood. No. Yes. Anyway, you get the idea, right? And we saw this at the State of the Union. We saw that this is not really about partisanship anymore. These people really don't care if the country fails. That's how important their agenda really is to them. And of course, we know that the subject of human trafficking, which is woven into all of this, of course, takes us to another level of evil. And of course, there's even a deeper level of evil past that. But I do want to just plug this into your brain, if I may. There's been a lot of talk, obviously, about the 4 vices. And of course, the real important ones that we're wanting to deal with here, of course, Carter Page and Michael Flynn. These are the ones that are sort of being tended to right now. Let's not forget also that at some point we're going to deal with the George Papadopoulos situation. And then, of course, there's the one that I am always kind of banging the drum on, which is the one of Paul Manafort. And let's remember, Paul Manafort, while being such a key piece in all of this, maybe not the linchpin, but a very key piece in all of this, has been the one who has been silenced, has been put away, and neither side is talking about him. And of course, there's been a lot of talk about this infamous black ledger, right, that supposedly had the goods on a bunch of people. Now, I want to just point out that I don't personally care whether this actual ledger was real or whether it was fake. It doesn't really matter to me. I look at it like I look at anything else. Think about how the Bible was actually acquired. We obviously have some books and some translations of some books, and then there might be a chance that there might be some other books out there, right? And of course, what we see throughout history is that oftentimes the important books are the ones that get removed. I'm just saying. Paul Manafort has been kept very quiet during this whole thing. Whether or not that actual ledger is real or fake still suggests to me that there may be a possibility of new discoveries in the near future. I'm going to leave it at that. Let's move on to 3829, to something we did find. 1212. This is from an Anon who posts Twitter status to Ian Miles Chong, who is a pretty good follow on Twitter, by the way. And there it is. The single largest donor of Shadow Incorporated, the company behind the failed Iowa caucus app, is George Soros. All right, indeed. So Shadow is this app that they were using for this Iowa caucus. And of course, that was a complete fail-a-palooza, right? Let me take you over here to Business Insider. The Iowa caucuses were thrown into chaos Monday night and into Tuesday when results were delayed over inconsistencies in voter data reported through a new mobile app. Democratic Party activists, I'm just going to stop right there. Democratic Party activists downloaded the new app to their personal phones and were planning to use the mobile app to transmit voter data from the approximately 1,700 caucus sites. I know. To the state party. Shadow, a tech company owned by the Democratic digital nonprofit group Acronym, is behind the app, HuffPost reported. Interestingly enough, the head of Acronym was tweeting about Pete Buttigieg. Yeah, that's right. And we're changing his name now. His name now is Mayor Cheat. Get an edge. Yeah, he ended up coming out really, really clean in this whole thing, right? So that's pretty interesting because she was a big fan of his, and it looks like he might have kicked down a little bit of coin their way. Yeah, look at that right there. Shadow Incorporated got $58,000 back in August 27, 2019. Most of the apps that I buy are $5 to $8, not $58,000. But no matter, let's go back to the article. Citing state campaign finance records, the Puffington Smokes said the Iowa Democratic Party paid Shadow more than $60,000 for website development. A source confirmed to Puffington Smokes that the payments were made to develop the app through which caucus site leaders were supposed to upload their results. Okay, well, here's how it all ended up. Bernie Sanders got screwed. Mayor Cheat, get it, edge, came out on top. But who really came out on top was Donald Trump. Look at that, 38 delegates in your face! Followed by Bill Weld. And if you don't know who Bill Weld is, he's the guy with 0 delegates. No, I'm just kidding. He's a Republican attorney. And then there's Joe Walsh, and this is not the Joe Walsh that played guitars for the Eagles, but he does have kind of similar politics. Anyway, this is Joe Walsh, and he got 0 delegates. Yikes, that was a fail fest right there. So you see what happened. This ended up becoming a complete meltdown for the Democrat Party. And there is a video of this. I can't play it for you because the audio is really terrible. And I'm struggling to get good audio these days. By the way, if you're hearing some pops in my mic, I'm very, very sorry. I'm holding what should be a studio microphone right now because the seating that holds it is broken. So sorry for the pops. I'm doing my best to try not to screw up your sound. But either way, this reporter was caught live while they were actually covering the Iowa caucuses, saying that this was a complete disaster. And that's exactly what it was, right before the State of the Union. So it was pretty much a fail fest all the way around. Now, I'm sorry, I want to backtrack just for a second because I realized I kind of brought up the Manafort topic, and I just wanted to let people know, if you want to know more about that topic and how I think it is related to all these biblical references, you can check out my video from September 27th, 2019, entitled Biblical in Pursuit of Truth Presents. That is the first one that I do, and then there is another one entitled Cardinal Sins from October 7th, and then another one on the 12th, Cardinal Sins 2. And these are all related videos. They have to do with Paul Manafort, the Black Ledger, many real estate deals, the Vatican, and of course Q's references to not only the term biblical, but to the movie Godfather 3 and how that sort of story kind of parallels Paul Manafort's situation in a lot of ways. And this also deals with the recent raid that was held on the Vatican. So it's a pretty deep story, and it kind of shows you the whole idea that I'm sort of formulating there. And if you've not seen that, you can check it out. Let's get back to this app right here. Ian points out, and there it is, the single largest donor of Shadow Incorporated, the company behind the failed Iowa caucus app, is George Soros. Well, this should be no surprise, right? Where there's any kind of knuckleheadedry, we see the money of Soros. And we're seeing this more and more through his family now as he gets a bit older. But this lizard is still around doing his thing. And of course, it looks like he put down quite a bit of coin there too. Is that 2,600,000 or is that 2,600? No, that's 2,600,000. That's a lot of coin right there. All right, well, here is a screenshot from the Shadow app. Meet the Shadow team. We are campaign and technology veterans who have built and implemented technology at Hillary for America, Obama for America, Google, Kiva, Apple, and the AFL-CIO, and the DNC. So all the groups you trust the least. So high five your nearest Democrat and say thanks for screwing it all up on your own accord. Once again, just like you did with Ukraine and impeachment and Fusion GPS and Russia. Yeah. Thank them once again. Once again, the money goes right back to the Democrats. And of course, this should be no surprise. Now, this will be very curious to see how this all turns out with elections, because I know there's a lot of pushes for a few different solutions. As if you were asking me, simple paper ballots are always going to be the way to go. Anytime you mess with this tech, someone can mess with that tech and then, of course, mess with the elections. I don't trust it either way. And I know that it's a real push for this sort of real ID. I don't really like the ideas and implications in that either. I simply just like the idea of paper ballots. I know it's cumbersome, but at the end of the day, it seems to me like it's worth it to preserve our republic. So that's where I would go with it, and it'll be really interesting to see how it all plays out. But we're starting to see already the meddling, not just with DNC, but with big tech. Remember, this was linked to Google, and of course Google's messing with this. Facebook is trying its hardest to stay out of it. We just had Christopher Wray talking about that just yesterday. So it's all coming to a head right now, and I think that we're going to start spilling out more election meddling, especially as we get closer and closer to the election. But what it really is a systematic destruction of the Democrat Party in the process. Let's move on to 3830, 16 minutes after the hour of 12, and there's our cheery little chipper folks right there. Look at them just having a blast in white. Bunch of nutsies. Anyway, it's called capture because they look like they've been captured. Remember that the Democrats sat while you were celebrated last night. I end a lot of articles about how the Democrats really feel about you by telling you to vote accordingly, but Trump's State of the Union speech highlighted the Democrats' utter contempt for President Donald Trump, you, and this country last night as they sat through almost every applause line that celebrated you doing well. Yeah, and like I said earlier, this was all on C-SPAN for the entire world to watch. No one got to be able to turn the camera off or turn it away or end up cutting to something else or use a different edit. It was all on Front Street. As the GOP highlighted in a video they posted to Twitter, the Democrats heard about the all-time low unemployment levels of the Black community, the Hispanic community, the young adult community, and more. This should be a reason to celebrate. We should see our elected leaders getting to their feet and showing support, but instead only half the room decided to stand. The other half, the Democrats, sat still, arms folded and practically seethed at times. Well said. Yeah, and this is from an article from Brandon Morse from redstate.com. If you want to check that out, that's where the link is too. And there they are right there. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at her right here. She's like, I wish I could just delete myself the way I deleted all those emails. Just wish I could delete myself. And she's like, you could do that? You could delete yourself? And look at over there, you got Mukarsel, who now starts to look a little bit more afraid of the POTUS all of a sudden than you got down here. She's like, oh man, I could be watching Desperate Housewives right now. And she's like, I am a desperate housewife. Then you got this lady right here. She's looking at the handbook. She's like, I didn't know those were the words. to the Pledge of Allegiance. Then you got Adam Skiff over here, and he's like, this is not okay. This is not okay. I no longer have to think about this. This is not okay today. That's all I have to say. And then you got Gerald Nadler right here, who looks to be slipping in and out of death. Yeah, I think maybe his soul's like leaving his body, and then it kind of like creeps back in. It kind of goes in and out a little bit. We're sort of in flux here. I don't know. And this guy over here, he sees Gerald Nadler, and he's like, maybe I can try that. Maybe that'll happen to me. Either way, you can tell they are not happy right here. This is entitled Patriotism, Showing Love of Country or Contempt for Which It Stands. Yeah, I don't see a bunch of patriots right there. I see a bunch of people that want to go home. So you got the squad of white shirts, all protest and everything at the SO2, and then you got Nancy Pants tearing up the speech. Looks like panic, panic, panic in D.C. 23 minutes after the hour 12, we have this familiar poster right here. Panic in D.C. In theaters now. Q says people actually believe those responsible for the attempted coup attempt of a duly elected sitting U.S. president will go unpunished. End to our constitutional republic. No equal justice under the law. No accountability. Escape unscathed. Buckle up. Yeah, I can't imagine going through all this with the purpose of just kind of letting everybody get away with it. Now, maybe that's what ends up happening, but I would imagine that'd be a pretty big ruse to hide at this point. Look, we've seen exactly how this all went down, and I want to point out that the coup attempt is in brackets, which suggests to me that that coup attempt has now been killed indeed, and it looks like we are going to get some accountability. We're going to talk about that in a future post, so buckle up. Buttercup. Post 3832, 3 minutes after the hour 1, we get this picture right here. This is a charming little group of college-educated activists just changing the world right there, one burning flag at a time, really making a difference. Probably for $85 and a box lunch, thanks to Open Society and George Soros, and probably Bill Ayers, who incidentally may have just deleted his Twitter. I may have had something to do with that. That's an interesting story for another time. Anyway, this is taking you to a Twitter link to Senator Bill Cassidy. And this is a tweet from October 10th, 2018. U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy says, at a time when Republicans are being shot, stabbed, doxxed, beaten, mailed powder, run out of restaurants, and sent death threats, Hillary Clinton urges Democrats to be even more uncivil. What an irresponsible statement. Every Democrat should denounce. Let's check it out.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and or the Senate, that's when civility can start again. But until then, the only thing that the Republicans seem to recognize and respect is strength.
Okay, so there's Hillary being her usual charming self. And I've got an update for you, by the way, on that October tweet. It has now been found dead at the Metropolitan Correction Center in Southern District of New York, and it is suspected to be a suicide. Let's move on to 3833, 27 minutes after the hour 2. We get a YouTube link. Q says revival. And the link takes you to the YouTube page of Sounds of Power, epic background music. And this right here is entitled Revival, Orchestral Instrumental. And that's all it is for 7 minutes and 7 seconds. And it just keeps showing you this graphic right there of the hand with the rope. Nice music. I can't play it for you because I will probably get hit with copyright on that too. I see it is copywritten down below, but it is some pretty good stuff. Now, I'm not sure if Q is just sharing us some hoorah tunes that they're into. Q has done that before. There probably is some significance here. I thought of the term revival, and it made me wonder about the Azusa Street revival back in the early 1900s, right around 1905. And that was started by a preacher named William J. Seymour, who essentially kind of ushered in Pentecostalism. This was when people were claiming to speak in tongues, and there was this massive revival going on down in Los Angeles. It actually turned out to be a really good thing for the community, but there were a lot of different religions that were coming to see this preacher, and they were claiming that miracles were happening, and they were really kind of crediting all of this with sort of the thriving of their community at the time. Pretty interesting story, but it made me think about that because it sort of is a great awakening. Right now, I don't know if we're ushering in Pentecostalism again, but there might be some parallels there. You guys can let me know down below what you think. Post 3834, 1 minute after the hour of 7, we get a link right here, and this is a letter to Mr. James M. Murray, Director of the United States Secret Service, and this is from Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson, not to be confused with Don Johnson, who was in Miami Vice and didn't wear socks. Anyway, let's read this thing. The Committee on Finance and Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs are reviewing potential conflicts of interest posed by the business activities of Hunter Biden and his associates during the Obama administration, particularly with respect to his business activities in Ukraine and China. In addition to several letters that the committees have sent to other agencies as part of that inquiry, the Committee on Finance also has written to the Department of Treasury regarding potential conflicts of interest in the Obama-era CFIUS approved transaction which gave control of Henniges, an American maker of anti-vibration technologies with military applications, to a Chinese government-owned aviation company and China-based investment firm with established ties to the Chinese government. Boy, I wonder if this has anything to do with the F-35. That transaction included Rosemont Seneca Partners, a company formed in 2009 by Hunter Biden, Christopher Hines, that's part of the Hines fortune, which is related to John Kerry, and others. We write to request information about whether Hunter Biden used government-sponsored travel to help conduct private business. Remember, they were using up some travel coins, so were they taking Air Force Two? To include his work for Rosemont Seneca and related entities in China and Ukraine. In December of 2013, 1 month after Rosemont Seneca's joint venture with Bohai Capital to form BHR, Hunter Biden reportedly flew aboard Air Force Two with then Vice President Biden to China. While in China, he helped arrange for Jonathan Lee, CEO of Bohai Capital, to shake hands with Vice President Biden. Afterward, Hunter Biden met with Lee for reportedly a social meeting. After the China trip, BHR's business license was approved. Then in 2015, BHR joined with Aviation Industry Corporation of China to acquire Henniges, which was the biggest Chinese investment into U.S. automotive manufacturing assets to date. In addition to business dealings in China, Hunter Biden also served as a board member for Burisma Holdings, a Ukrainian energy company. In April 2014, around the time Hunter Biden joined Burisma, Vice President Biden reportedly became the public face of the administration's handling of Ukraine. It is unclear whether Hunter Biden received government-sponsored travel or a protective detail for these endeavors. Accordingly, to help the committees better understand Hunter Biden's travel arrangements to conduct business related to his dealings in Ukraine and China, among other countries, while he received a protective detail, please provide the following information no later than February 19, 2020. Okay. So, was he using some government coin to travel around? Was the Secret Service having to actually detail with this guy? Don't really know, but it seems like a nice little audit may help, yeah? Please describe the protective detail that Hunter Biden received while his father was vice president. Please provide a list of all dates and location of travel, international and domestic, for Hunter Biden while he received a protective detail. In your response, please note whether his travel was on Air Force One or Two or other government aircraft as applicable, and whether additional family members were present for each trip. All right, so you get the idea. The hunter has become the hunted. So this is getting really interesting because this might show another layer of the taxpayers' dime being spent to fund Hunter Biden's exploits, in particular the United States Secret Service. So this will be very interesting to see where this turns up. And I can't help but think at some point we're going to have to rustle Hunter out of the bushes and hear what really happened. Those are your Q posts. And speaking of what really happened, the POTUS tweeted this earlier. What really happened? And this was tweeted at 10:28 and then promptly deleted. Very, very curious stuff. Now, in our natural search procedure, I went to post 10:28, which was from the 5th of April 2018, and it was just simply 55Q plus, meaning loud and clear, and Q plus being the POTUS. Now, you could also think that 10/28 would be the day that we actually saw back in October 2017 when Q made their first post. And I'm showing you a screenshot. It says the 29th of October for me, but remember that I'm from the future, and even back in the past, I was from the future. Remember, the future sometimes has to find the past, and the past has to sometimes Anyway, the first post, HRC extradition already in motion, effective yesterday with several countries in case of cross-border run. Passport approved to be flagged effective October 30th at 12:01 a.m. Expect massive riots organized in defiance and others fleeing the U.S. to occur. U.S. militaries U.S. Marines, I'm assuming, will conduct the operation while National Guard activated. Proof check, locate a National Guard member, and ask if activated for duty. 10:30 across most major cities. Okay, so I'm not so sure that that is the reference, but this was posted at 10:28, and those are a couple of 10:28 references. Now, we also have this right here. What really happened? How Donald J. Trump saved America from Hillary Clinton. And this is from the Howie Carr Show. So this could very well be the reference. But I found it very interesting that Trump not only posted it, but then deleted it, which leads me to think that they were definitely talking to us anons. All right, kids, those are your Q posts for today. Finally, let me leave you with a couple of tweets. This first one here is from CBS's Catherine Herridge, who is talking about FBI Director Christopher Wray, who was speaking also yesterday. Wray added, there is, of course, as you know, the ongoing John Durham investigation. We have been cooperating fully, so I look forward to hopefully having another hearing with you at some point where we can have a very different kind of exchange about the FBI. Very telling indeed. And then we have this from Breaking 911. Breaking, Representative Matt Gaetz files ethics charge against Nancy Pelosi for destroying official records in ripping President Trump's Sochu speech. Very nice. And those are your headlines for today. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. Once again, sorry about the sound. Like I said, I can't really do much about it other than just try and hold this microphone until I can find some place to hold it. So if it's a little puffy and a little bit spiky in volume, I'm very sorry. There's not much I can do about it, but try and normalize it as much as I can before I post it. All my alternate links are down below for you. My Gab, my BitChute, my Twitter, and all that. It's all down below. DropSpace, all those links are down below in the video description. And if you want to look up my threads, you can find that over on Patreon. You can also support my channel over there. If you've got something to send to me, please email me. Please do not DM me on Twitter. Please email me. That's down below. And of course, my P.O. box is down below if you want to send something old school. It's all down below in the video description. All right, Patriots, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay focused.